Hello everyone and welcome to today's tutorial on the Intelligent Surface Remote line. I'm excited to introduce a remote family that gives dealers the perfect balance of style, simplicity, and flexibility while delivering an exceptional experience for your clients. In this video, we'll review the features of the entire Intelligent Surface Remote line, including the premium ISR-AB mounting dock. Then we'll jump into Integration Designer and show you just how easy it is to program these controllers. Let's get started. Let's take a look at this exciting lineup of Intelligent Surface Remotes, starting with the ISR-2. The ISR-2 is the remote you're going to want to give your customer who prefers that numerical keypad, more hard buttons, and a smaller touchscreen. The touchscreen is a 2.8 color touchscreen, edge-to-edge glass with 2 capacitive buttons on the edge-to-edge glass. 32 buttons altogether. The remote's also capable of two-way feedback over the 2.0 GHz Wi-Fi spectrum, and for those devices that you need to control with IR line of sight, it also supports infrared direct line of sight. It also features an accelerometer, light sensor, and a Li-Polymer battery, which we really pride ourselves on battery life. Li-Polymer batteries are going to give you several advantages over typical lithium batteries. They're lightweight and thin, they have a higher energy density, lower self-discharge when not in use. They're going to last longer, they're going to offer you a better life, and they're also going to give you better battery time with your controllers. Now, these remotes all include the controller, a charging base, and a 5-volt 2-amp power supply. However, we're going to talk about a more premium option in a little bit. Now let's turn our attention to the ISR-4 remote. The ISR-4 is going to be a good option for those who prefer more of that smartphone type of experience. It's going to have a 4-inch touchscreen. Again, the 2 capacitive buttons on the edge-to-edge glass. But instead of the 32 buttons on the ISR-2, you're going to get 20 buttons with the ISR-4. Now, these remotes are going to feel like smartphones. They're going to swipe like smartphones. They're going to have the same type of screen and the same response time. So your clients are really going to love these controllers. Again, you're going to get the same two-way feedback over the Wi-Fi 2.0 GHz spectrum, infrared line of sight, built-in accelerometer, light sensor, the same battery advantages, and these also come with the charging base. You're going to get 4 to 5 days of normal use with the battery life, longer, of course, without normal use. And so now you can walk around with these remotes and use them without worrying about having to charge them on a daily basis. Now let's turn our attention to the ISR-AB Advanced Base. This is a premium dock that you could purchase as an accessory to your Intelligent Surface Remote. This is unlike any other product I've seen in the industry. It has 4 capacitive buttons on the face of the remote, and it could be used to control scenes, activities, or just about anything you need to in your control system. 3 completely programmable buttons. Now, we also give you a Find My Remote icon, which is preferably used for a Find My Remote function. That way, if your ISR is not in the base, you could find it quickly with the Find My Remote, but you could use that for anything you want if you prefer to use it for another scene or something like that. Now, what makes these ISR-ABs super unique is the fact that these are actually an access point for the Intelligent Surface Remotes. And there's a variety of ways that you can use this as an access point. You could either wire it through its PoE connection, or you could plug it in and let it hop on that Wi-Fi connection. So there's a couple of options there that we're going to talk about as we move along. Now, this also features the light ring with different states that reflect what's going on with the dock. And we're going to go over those states as well. Again, the 3 capacitive buttons and Find My Remote, those can be programmed for anything. So you could use those to start your activity while you go fetch your remote, or you could just use it to just set up your scenes and get going. Now, for the coloring, there's several different states that you have to be aware of. First, there's the solid blue color. And the solid blue means no remote is docked in the ISR-AB. So that is solid blue. Solid red means the remote is docked and it needs to charge and it's charging. Solid green means the remote is docked and is fully charged. Now, the buttons also, the light ring also has an animation type of things as well. So it breathes white when the system is booting. Solid white means that the operating system is loading. So the startup page on the before the normal state. Now, the rotating green could either mean that the settings are loading or it's receiving a file from Integration Designer. Now, during power up, you might see different sequences, so don't get alarmed. We'll show you how to use this. Let's launch Integration Designer, and we'll show you how to program these. Here inside Integration Designer, I have two rooms, a family room and a media room. And I've got some devices in each room, but I haven't added any controllers yet. Now, obviously the family room with the DirecTV and the NVR, you're probably going to prefer the ISR-2 in this case. Well, I mean, you could use either remote, but the client probably would use an ISR-2 because he could use the DirecTV numerical keypad and he could dial up his cameras with the NVR. So even though it's a preference thing, this room is probably better suited for the ISR-2. And in our media room, well, we've got some devices here that maybe a bigger touchscreen would be warranted. A Kaleidoscope, Apple TV, and a Sonos port. So a good example of where an ISR-4 might shine. Now, again, this is a complete preference thing. There's no right or wrong answer when you're picking a remote out, but I'm going to designate an ISR-2 to the family room and an ISR-4 to the media room. Now, whenever you're dealing with Wi-Fi controllers, it doesn't matter if it's Intelligent Surface or something else, you're going to want to go to File and then System Properties. Because in these tabs, you're going to configure a lot of things that are going to flow down to some of the items in the workspace, such as location, clock, and 802.11, your Wi-Fi network. So you're going to add your Wi-Fi network here, instead of doing it on all the controllers separately. So I'm going to click Add, and I'm just going to add a network, and I'm going to set the authentication to WPA2, and I'm going to enter in the network key. So I've got my network credentials, and now I click OK, and there's my network. Now, it should filter down to all the devices in our workspace that require a Wi-Fi network or can be set to a Wi-Fi network. Now, let's add our controllers. Let's start with the ISR-2. So I'm going to go to the Add Workspace item, click on the Controller tab, and I'm going to search for ISR, Intelligent Surface Remote. Here you'll see the 2, the 4, and the ISR-AB optional base station. Again, the ISR-2 and the ISR-4 will come with their own dock with power supply, so you don't need a dock per se, but the ISR-AB does have special features. So I'm going to start with the family room, and I'm going to add my ISR-2. So I'm going to select the family room, click Next. I'm going to pick my template, and I'm going to pick my menu type. I'm going to go with button menus with gradient, and I'm going to name my controller accordingly. ISR-2 family room. Now over here, here's where I can select some source devices. So I will give it a weather page, a home page. I don't need a page for the TV or my Bijou, but I do need a page for the DirecTV and NVR. And once you do that, let's click Add Device. Now on its own, the controller can talk to either a router, a Wi-Fi router, or a wireless access point. Let's click Close and go over some of the features. I'm going to click on the controller, and then I'm going to click on Properties. Here's where you can configure the properties of your controller. So I would recommend setting a power downtime to something greater than 10 seconds. That's the timeout with inactivity. So we'll set this to 45 seconds. And you could change your backlight levels. Now under wireless network, you can configure a static IP if you like. There's nothing wrong with a DHCP address, or if you want to reserve the DHCP address or MAC address, that's perfectly fine. Let's go to 802.11. Now here, by default, the system is using the system properties. And if you're using an access point or Wi-Fi router or any other conduit of Wi-Fi, you're going to be okay now. Now your remote will talk to this network. So make sure you have proper signal and you should be fine. Let's click OK. All right. Now let's add another remote to the media room. I'm going to click on Add Workspace. This time I'm going to search for ISR, but I'm going to grab the ISR-4 this time. You notice it's a 480 by 800 versus 240 by 320. So a much more substantial touchscreen. So if your client needs it or prefers it, it's going to be a good option for you. So let's add the ISR-4 to the media room. Click Next, and I'll pick the same options. Button menus with gradient. We'll name this ISR-4 Media Room, and we'll pick the devices we need. Weather, we don't need a page for the projector or Bijou, and we'll add the Kaleidoscape, Apple TV, and Sonos. That real estate on the ISR-4 will come in handy. Let's click Add Device. Now, same properties. You're going to click on Close Out, click on your remote, Properties, and you're going to configure your power downtime. I'll make this 50 seconds. You can enable the tilt switch, and you can assign it to a base. We'll do that last. Wireless network, and of course your 802.11 is pointing to our network by default that we set up in system properties. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty easy to add the remotes and get them configured to talk to either a Wi-Fi access point or a wireless router. Pretty simple. Now, what if you're going with the optional base now? Now, the optional base has a couple of options. You could either hardwire it to the network, and now you can talk to a dedicated access point for your RTI controller. So it's not something you can connect other devices to. You won't be able to connect a laptop or other IoT devices or anything like that. So it's a dedicated access point for your RTI controller. And you don't even need the power supply of the remote, because the PoE connection will not only allow you to communicate with the processor, because you do have 3 scene keypads, but also be able to set up a Wi-Fi access point for you. Now, you don't have to do that. You can just plug the base in and use it as a scene controller and still continue to talk to either the wireless access point or a router. No problem. Okay? So let's start with the family room. I'm going to click on Add Workspace, and under Controllers, I'm going to search for ISR, and I'm going to see that the AB base station is included in the controller list. So, one base per controller. You're not going to want to use one base for multiple controllers. That's just not going to work. So I'm going to assign this controller to my family room. And when I click Next, I'm going to call this ISR-AB family room. That way I can distinguish them pretty easily in the drop-down menu. Now over here, when it comes to pages, no matter how many pages you go to create, it's only going to create one page for you, a home page. So we'll leave everything unchecked just for the habit of it, and we'll only add the home page. But it will only add a home page as long as at least one page is checked. And now let's click Add Device. Let's click Close. And now if you click on the base itself, you'll see a home page. And now you're going to see the 4 buttons. The Find My Remote button, which has already been tagged for you, and 3 anything control scenes or activities or anything you want to do. So in this case, let's start by applying this base to the remote and thus marrying them together. So I'm going to click on Properties. Now I can click on Properties of the controller as well, but there are special settings on the ISR-AB. Okay? Now with the ISR-AB, you can, under the General tab, select which ISR remote is associated with the base station. So obviously, we're going to pick the family room controller, because that's where our ISR-2 is. There's other settings as well. You can enable a dedicated ISR wireless connection if you prefer, and that will require connecting a PoE connection. Okay? So that's something you could do or not. You don't have to. You could just use the 3 scene buttons and still continue to talk to your Wi-Fi catalyst in the home or business. Okay? But we'll leave that checked. We'll run the PoE to it. Now, you could also enable the Ethernet port light, and that could be distracting if you have that in a bedroom or something like that. You could also hide the programmable button lights. Those are capacitive buttons, and they will light up. So you could either hide the Ethernet port light and the button lights in the software. That's a pretty cool feature. You could also adjust the light ring brightness from 100% by default all the way down to 0. So we'll put this at 100% because in our family room, we don't care if the dock is lit up or the Ethernet port or the programmable lights. In fact, that'll come in handy when the lights are down. Okay? So we're going to go with the assumption that we now want to talk to our base station with this dedicated ISR wireless connection instead of using a wireless access point or router. Okay? Now we can configure a wired network here, either DHCP or static IP, or a wireless network as well. We'll get to that. Okay? Now, if you're using the dock's Wi-Fi under 802.11, if this is checked, you're going to want to uncheck this. Make sure use system default is not checked. Otherwise, the base is going to use your access point or your wireless router. So we're going to make sure that that's unchecked. And the software was smart enough to uncheck it for us. So make sure that that is unchecked. Okay? And now if I click OK, that's all you got to do. Now your remote will continue to communicate with this device. Now, what about programming the buttons? That's pretty simple. It's just like programming any controller. Let's start with Find My Remote. I'm going to click on the Find My Remote button. And since I am going to use this as a Find My Remote button, I'm going to leave the tag Find Remote intact. And now I'm going to open up the macro window in the tag browser, and I could click any macro level. It doesn't matter because there's only one page here. I'll click on Source Macro, and now click on Macro Steps. So I'm setting up a source macro on the button Find My Remote, and I'm going to search for the Find Remote macro step. Here it is right here. Let's double click it so it populates the macro programming window. And now let's select the remote that we want to find, and thus we'll start beeping. So I'm going to select the ISR-2 family room. Okay? And that's all you got to do to program the Find My Remote button. Now with the 3 scene buttons, you could have these do anything you like. You could have them set lighting scenes, set overall scenes like climate, shades, and lighting, and a combination of temperature and other things as well. You could start activities. So you could drag and drop tags to these if you like. So for example, I'm going to go and drag and drop a tag to this to start my DirecTV activity. I'm just going to drag and drop this to the button, and boom, it will program a room macro that tells System Manager to start running the DirecTV activity that's programmed in System Manager. Pretty simple. Now you could also do something cool, like if you want, you could, have it linked to different remotes or have different remotes jump. If you've got multiple remotes in the house as well, it's up to you. Okay? Now for the second remote, we could do basic things if we like to. I could go to the macro steps again, open up my sources, and for my DirecTV, I could make this maybe one of the direct channel tuning. Maybe this will be my ESPN button. Select my DirecTV, and I'll dial up channel 206, which is ESPN. So you could do that as well. Or you could set a scene. Now in the family room, we really don't have much going on, but I could also create a little activity of my own if I wanted to. I could go to my third button here, and I could do a combination of commands. maybe I'll set my Bijou. Let's see here. Let's go set some audio feature here. I'll continue to go with the source level macros. Not that it matters because there's only one page on this remote. And I could go here now and I could set, maybe enable the EQ, or maybe this button also sets a sub-mute or something like that. Or you could do other things as well. I could set different things like let's see what we have here. Under the volume, I could set my headphones to volume. Or I could go to my advanced audio feature here and I could do something else. I could do some EQ here, or I can set the output to headphone speakers or both, or whatever I want to do. So it's pretty simple, or even a sound program. So pretty simple to program buttons. It's only going to create a home page for you. And if you there's no page wizard here. If I click on the home page source, you're not going to be able to add any pages even if you use the page wizard for your ISR-AB. So it would only ask you to add to your ISR-2. Okay? So that's the only page you could add. If you right click, you won't be able to duplicate the page. One single home page is all you need with the ISR-AB. Okay? And that's all. So you could also do other things as well. Now, what if you're a wireless network? What if you're a little wireless network that's created with this ISR-AB? And again, you're going to want to plug that in over PoE, and that's going to give you a dedicated network option. Okay? And it's going to require, an 802.3 AF standard, right? So you're going to make sure your ISR-AB is run to a PoE switch. And that Cat6 can be either a standard T58, you could do a standard T568A or T568B. So again, it has a LAN port in back. You run it in, and now your dock's powered on. You could put the power supply on the side, and life is good. Okay? Now, there's another way you can use this controller, and that's kind of like in a kind of like a repeater mode. We call it bridge mode. And when a wired connection isn't available, the ISR-AB can connect to a 2.4 network using the Wi-Fi bridge. So what you're going to do is you're going to join your Wi-Fi network, okay? So make sure you have a network to join in the area. Again, you want your remote to connect directly to the base. Now, why would you want that? Why would you want to connect directly to the base? Well, for lots of reasons. You might want to eliminate some devices from the network. Maybe that's a viable solution, right? Or maybe you just want to have even a faster connection, although I can't even imagine a faster connection because this remote connects instantly. And also, it will give you a little bit of better battery life as well. So if you're really into it, why not, right? And now you don't have to worry about anything like that. So what you're going to do this is that you're going to make sure you plug in your ISR-AB. And the second thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure you have a Wi-Fi network, and you're going to want to test the signal. Make sure you've got a decent signal to join, okay? And it's going to be in the area where you're going to place the dock, okay? Not just in the room itself, but where you're going to actually place the dock. So do a thorough Wi-Fi test. Now, in the properties, we've got to take care of a couple of things here. If I click on ISR-AB and click on properties, the first thing I want to do is I want to disable the dedicated ISR-AB connection because I don't want to hop on the network. I don't want it to create another network for me. I want to join the existing network. Now, you could also do a couple of other things, like you configure the wireless network and stuff like that. But let's just leave it the way it is. Now, how do you get this thing to hop on your network? Well, when you install the dock, when you unplug the PoE, it should give you a Wi-Fi address on your Wi-Fi settings. There'll be a separate network that you could temporarily connect to in order to tell the AB how to connect to your own network. You might have seen that with devices like Ring doorbells and some other devices out there. Maybe you connect over Bluetooth. Well, with this dock will be generating a Wi-Fi network. And typically you'll see it and it'll be the name, it'll be ISR-AB with the last 6 digits of the ISR-AB's MAC address. So I'm going to go to my Wi-Fi here and I'm going to see if this network is showing up. Let's take a look. Let's give it a couple of seconds to scan through the network lists. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Let's give it a chance to connect and see if it's here. Now, if you don't see your network, you're going to want to factory reset your unit. You're going to want, I don't see an ISR-AB network here. So you're going to want to factory reset the unit. And that requires either a paper clip or a reset tool. There's a small hole in the back. Just hold that for 10 seconds or so. I believe it's 10 seconds. So you'll make sure it's powered on. You'll press and hold the reset, for 30 seconds using a paper clip. And when you release, the LED will flash right, and then it will indicate a successful reset. And your network should show up. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to pause the video, factory reset my unit, and I'm going to see if this network shows up. Okay, so I factory reset the dock, and that can happen a lot when you switch different modes, which I do a lot, so I'm not surprised that happens. Just factory reset it. It'll return to factory settings, and then you should be good to go. Okay? All right, let's see if it showed up. Let me go to my Wi-Fi settings again. Let's click this and scroll. There it is, the ISR-AB and the last 6 digits of the MAC address. So it looks like it found it well. Now, you're going to really probably want to do this with a phone or a tablet. I think iOS or Android devices are much better at going to portals than a computer is. So let's see if this works. Once I click it, let's connect. Now, this should open a web-based portal for us once it connects. And sure enough, it did in my other window. And now it should tell me, let's just say not now here, and it's going to want to join one of these networks. Which one? Well, I'm going to select my Wi-Fi network. Click join. You're going to enter in your Wi-Fi password. So I'm going to enter that in and now click join network. So it'll connect to my network and now it'll join. The ISR-AB will reboot and I'll press done or close the window to exit. I'll just give it a couple more seconds before I do that. But it's that simple, okay? Now your dock is going to kind of repeat your Wi-Fi signal and you'll be able to connect to it also. And that's pretty much how to set up the ISR remotes. You just basically add them, make sure you configure your system properties, and make sure you go into your individual properties. Now, as far as the remotes themselves, in the properties of the remotes, you could also attach it to the base, but there's all those other settings you're going to want to take a look at in the properties of the ISR-AB. Pretty simple. That was a quick one. The ISR-AB, the ISR-2, and the ISR-4. Now, if you browse through the ISR-4 and the ISR-2, you're going to notice that these remotes are very similar to Android-based controllers. They're going to give you viewports. They're going to give you the ability to do things that you're kind of used to with remotes such as iPads and iPhones and things like that. And might be a couple of small minor exceptions, but these will give you a great user experience. So that's it for today. That was the Intelligent Surface Remote tutorial. Of course, if you have any questions, please give us a call anytime. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.